Hey everyone, Raider here. Hope you're all doing great and having an amazing day. So it's time for week 7 of weekly Q&A where we get your Samsung questions answered. We have a lot of ground to cover this week. Timestamps will be down in the description. Let's go ahead and jump into this week's questions. Our first question comes to us from, well, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that username, but the question is, thanks for the interesting Youngzol. I assume that means video. I'm considering buying this model to model with Blender. What do you think? I try not to do very complicated modeling and rendering, and this is in regards to the Galaxy Book3 Pro 360. Well, I've actually been asked about Blender quite a few times now for the Book2 Pro 360 and this new Book3 Pro 360. Let's go ahead and check it out. All right, we're out at Blender's website right now on the Book3 Pro 360, and I've got Blender 3.5 installed on here. The installation went super smooth, no issues at all. The first thing I want to show you are the demos that I downloaded, so we're all on the same page, and that way you can kind of play along at home with your computer to see how it performs in comparison with this one. So the first thing I did, let's scroll down here a little bit, is I grabbed the latest splash artwork, so this Blender 3.5 demo, right? So let me go back up to the top, and then I went over to modeling, and I grabbed this curved bezel profile one, but it's kind of boring, so I think the one we're going to look at is down here a little bit. Let's see here, this one right here. Fluid simulation, lava animation. Oh, and I want to mention too, the reason I'm not using a screen recorder is because it really dips into the performance on this machine. I noticed that when doing the video editing video, so I've just got the camera zoomed in real close to the screen. All right, so we've got a few sample projects downloaded, and now you're on the same page as far as which ones I'm going to use. So let's go ahead and fire up Blender. Here we go, Blender 3.5. You can see how fast it takes to load up on this machine from scratch. Go ahead and give it a second. All right, so it's loaded up. We're gonna go ahead and open up one of these sample projects, right? So let's go ahead and start with the splash screen one here. All right, that's the Blender 3.5 project, the first one I showed. So you'll see this load up here. All right, give it just a little bit. While this is loading, we'll check the system performance here. CPU load is low, GPU load is pretty low as well. All right, cool, so here it is. And we zoom in and out, it's pretty smooth. You see the smoothness here. Let's see, I can move the model around. The animation and stuff is very smooth. I'm having no issues here whatsoever. Let's go ahead and do a render real quick. We'll render animation. Let's go ahead and maximize this window. So it's starting on the first frame right now. And let's see here. Should get an estimated time here real quick. About 1 minute and 40 seconds for this frame to get rendered. And while this is going, I should mention too, this is in high performance mode. I am connected to power. However, I do notice when I have it disconnected from power, it doesn't make that big a difference, at least not in this mode. It just sucks through the battery really quick. So let's go ahead and check the performance. CPU load, 100%, maxed out. Memory utilization, let's see here. Yeah, it's fairly high. It's cooking along. GPU utilization is very low during this. So we're just gonna let it cook along here for a little bit. The fans are starting to rear up a little bit, or roar up, I should say. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and just let this go, and we'll get towards the end of this frame. All right, so we're at the end of this frame here. Got a couple seconds left to go. Yeah, it took about 1 minute and 50 seconds to render this frame. Let's confirm that we're actually in high performance mode here. All right, yeah, we're in high performance mode. So yeah, it's cooking along, it's getting a little warm. Let's check this, these thermals here again. What's our temperature? Yeah, we're cooking at about 86 Celsius right now, 99% load on the CPU. So let's go ahead and load up another project now. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and load up that lava one that I showed you, the last demo. Let's see here, we'll let that load up. Give it just a moment. All right, looks like the project's loaded. Let's go ahead and play this animation real quick so we get a feel for what it's like inside the viewer. All right, so we're looking at about 26 frames per second, 27 frames per second. It's doing pretty good here. We can go in and out of this model pretty easily, go between the nodes. You know, everything's very fluid, which I'm really surprised by. You know, I'm very inexperienced with this. I just started using it. And I thought this was supposed to be very GPU intensive, but I don't know, this machine doesn't seem to be having any problems, at least in like the viewer itself. And let's go ahead and try to render this one real quick. All right, let's maximize this. All right, it's working on frame 40. It's cooking along pretty good, and let's see if we're having the same type of utilization. Yeah, low on the GPU, pretty high on the CPU. So yeah, this is Blender on the Book3 Pro 360. This is probably going to resonate to those of you that are familiar with this application. I am not. I like to do these test videos for you guys though, whenever you ask the question. So grab these projects, run them through a render on your own machine, and see how it compares to this one. Hopefully this is enough for you to tell if this is going to be a good enough machine or not for you to use with Blender. Thanks for the question. All right, so our next question comes to us from Mad Meathead 13. Was there ever a fix to make it full screen on the Fold? Been waiting months, laugh out loud. And this is in regards to using your Z Fold 4 as a second display. So Mad Meathead is referring to using the Fold 4 as a second screen for like a Galaxy laptop, which most people don't even know you can do. All right, so let's go ahead and see this in action real quick. I'll show you how this works. You're gonna swipe down. We're gonna go over to our Smart View toggle real quick. Go ahead and click on that. And then once that opens up, you're going to want to click on the three dots here, go to Settings. Then what you're going to want to tap on is About Smart View right here. Let me get a little closer to the camera. All right, About Smart View. Then tap on Smart View like 8 times. And the first time you do this, it's going to prompt you for a password. I'll go ahead and drop 2 of them that work down in the description. It depends on what version of One UI you're on. So just try either one of those and one of them will work, and that'll get you into this screen. And then what you do here is you have this Start Second Screen toggle. Go ahead and turn that on, and then you want to click inside of there, inside of that text, so it comes to this screen. And we're going to put the Fold 4 down. All right, we're just going to set it right here. Then I'm going to press Windows and K. All right, and that's going to start the presentation mode for the laptop here. And you'll see here we have Brian Z Fold 4. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Give it just a second. All right, and you see here the Fold 4 is now a second screen for my Galaxy Book laptop. And the question that he had was, is there a way to make this full screen? And unfortunately, I do not know of a way to do it. You still have the black bars due to the difference in the aspect ratios, but it's still pretty cool that you can do this on the Fold. So yeah, sorry, no way to do it full screen yet, but we get pretty close, and it's still a pretty cool feature nonetheless. Thanks for the question. Right, so our next question comes to us from Beatty. Beatty writes in, thank you for the video. I have 2 questions. The first one would be, how fast would it be on the Ultra, you think? And this is in regards to the Book3 Ultra for video editing performance. Do you think it would be 10 minutes or so faster? Because you said normally for integrated GPU, it needs 4 to 5 times of the footage length. Second question would be, if you could do a video about proxies. I have never heard about them and what they do, etc. That would help a lot. Thank you very much. All right, so a little bit of different camera view here. We're doing a screen share here, and the audio might sound a little bit different as well. So to address the first part of your question regarding the Ultra versus the Book3 Pro 360, yeah, the Ultra is definitely going to perform better. I mean, for a 10-minute long render, it took about 24 minutes, 4K footage on the Book3 Pro 360. If I had to estimate, given the H series processor versus a P series, with that 3050 or 3070 versus the integrated graphics, I bet it would probably render that probably 18, 19 minutes, maybe even a little bit faster than that with that H series. So if you're looking to work with videos on a routine basis, like 4K footage, and you're going to render out long renders, long edits, I would definitely get a bigger, beefier machine than the Book3 Pro 360. However, if you're a small channel like myself, and most of the stuff you work with is 1080p, and you don't mind working with proxies often, which we're going to talk about in a sec, this machine works great. No problems whatsoever. So it really depends on your use case and how often you plan on doing video editing. You know, that's going to really dictate which machine you should get. But let's go ahead and jump into your next question, and that is, what are proxies? So I've never answered this for anyone before, so I'll try to do my best. But the reality is proxies are really simple, in all honesty. So in order to best understand them, it's best we start without proxies, all right? That way we can see the problem that we have, and then we're going to introduce proxies, and then we'll see how it solves that problem, and you'll see them in action. So here we go. We have that sample project that I did, that 4K video editing video that I did a while back, a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3. And everything on here is 4K. We got a bunch of 4K footage. I'll go out to the media pool. You see a bunch of 4K files here. And if we look at the properties on my timeline, you can see we're working with a 4K timeline. So everything you're looking at here is 4K. And this machine does a really good job. So if we start scrubbing the timeline, you'll see it scrubs smoothly. However, you are going to see a little bit of delay over here. And I did make my mouse pointer yellow, so it should be pretty easy to follow along. So look in this area while moving this around, and you'll see it takes a little bit, not too long, because this machine really does great. I'm telling you, DaVinci Resolve will run on a potato, man. It really is great. So as you're scrubbing along, you will hear a little bit of a delay, but then again, it's a 4K timeline with 4K footage. So what's happening right now is this processor in the GPU is having to work with a full 4K file in real time. And that's the problem, is it's working with this footage in real time. So you, as the editor, while you're working with these high resolution files, you're going to experience a lot of delays as you're going through and scrubbing through your content and as you're working through stuff in general. Let me show you another example of what I mean. So if we go over here and if we scrub through our content itself, like let's take a look at this 4K unboxing. So pay attention to where my mouse pointer is within that clip, and you'll see that there's a little red bar that goes across. Well, what's on that red bar should correspond what's up here. See where I'm moving my mouse pointer? And you want that to be as real time as possible, because remember, like professional video editors, they're going through this stuff super, super fast. That's the whole point. You want a system, and you want your editor to be able to keep up with you, the editor. And that's the problem with working with 4K, 6K, and 8K footage, is that as you're scrubbing along here and you hear those little noises in the background, the system is having a hard time keeping up with me in real time because I'm moving too fast. So let me show you the solution to that. The solution is to create proxies. So what a proxy is a lower quality, lower bit rate, lower everything version of your original file that gets generated by your editor. And then what happens is that gets loaded in place of your original file. So as you're working with a proxy file, you'll be going through, let's say, a 1080p version of the file right here instead of a full 4K, and you're going to be able to scrub through it super fast, and you'll make all your edits, splice it up, chop it up, add effects, and do all that stuff. And then what happens when it comes time for you to render your project, it swaps out your original file for your proxy file, and it retains all of those edits that you did. Everything will stick onto your original file. So when you go to render it out, you'll now have a 4K file that has all of your edits that were done on that proxy file. So basically a proxy is like a temporary, low footprint, lightweight version of your file that you're using while you're working on your project. And then when it's time to render it out, when it's time to deliver it for what your users are going to see, your viewers, then it switches over to your original target resolution, which in this case is 4K. So let's see this in action here real quick. All right, so as we're going through this footage, you see there's that delay between this play window up here and what we have here. And we can go up here to like this fan, right? We can see this too. Look at that delay. Look how much of a delay there is. So what we're going to do is now we're going to generate a proxy. We're going to generate a low quality version of this file, and we're going to work with it instead. So let's see this in action. I'm going to right click on here. We're going to go ahead and generate proxy media. Boom, it's going to throw up this dialog. So up here, it is now generating the media. So normally what I'll do when I first load up a project, I will load in all of my media, and then I'll select all my media and just right click on it. So it has everything highlighted at one time. And then I'll generate proxies, and then I'll just go take a little break. I'll let it sit there and generate all the proxies in the background. And then when I come back, I'll have lower versions of the files to work with. There's also another way that I'm going to show you here in just a little bit. So we'll let this continue, and the length of time that it takes to generate your proxy media will depend on a lot of factors. It'll depend on the length, it'll depend on the bit rate of the actual file itself, and the actual file type, right? So a file that's shot in a Sony camera might be a lot different than what's shot on like a Samsung phone, right? So you're going to have all these different factors in the length of the video. That's going to be your biggest factor. And going from like 4K, 6K to 8K, as you go up in resolution, it'll take longer and longer to generate lower quality versions or lower proxies, you know. So we're almost done here. We have 5 seconds remaining. So let's let this finish up. All right, so it's almost done here. And there we go. So there's one thing you're going to notice about this clip. It has this, and I have my mouse pointer right above it. It created this little window looking thing. See how it looks like two little windows? that tells you that you're now working with a proxy version of that file. Now here's what I want you to pay attention to. Watch my mouse cursor here, and while I'm moving this around, pay attention to this, just like before. Now look how fast that fan is. Look how fast it's scrubbing through there. And the reason being is because I have my proxies set up to generate 1080p proxies off 4K files. So it's generating quarter resolution versions of the files. Now here's the beautiful thing about this. As you're working with proxies and all that good stuff, when you go over here to render, and you actually go to, complete your project and actually add to render queue, it's going to render your original version. You don't have to drop the proxies or anything. DaVinci Resolve does that all for you. You don't have to even worry about it. So it's going to generate your final output in 4K. So that's super sweet. But here's another little thing about proxies too, and this is what I recommend for people to just kind of get started with. Let me go back over here to the edit pane. If you go over here, let me move this out of the way. I've got my screen recorder toolbar right in the way. So our timeline, like I mentioned, is 4K, right? So here's a quicker way, and this is the way that I like to do it most of the time, is I will go up here to playback, all right? And then what we have is proxy handling, right? And we're gonna do prefer proxies, and then we have timeline proxy resolution. So by default, that's gonna be full. So what I typically do, if I'm working with 4K content, before I even start my project, before anything, I'll set that to quarter. So now what happens is as I'm dragging stuff from my media pool onto the timeline, what'll happen is like if I grab this right now, like let's just do that real quick. What'll happen is in the background, it's generating versions, proxy versions of these files, and you're now working with a timeline that's 1/4 of the original resolution for anything that you drop on here. And just like before, when you go to render and you go to render it out, it's going to honor the original resolution of your timeline. Like in our case, if we go back here, our resolution, I should say, is Ultra HD, 4K. So basically, in a nutshell, proxies are copies, like basically shadow copies of your original files that are lower resolution, that are a lot easier for you and your system to work with, that get used in this playback mode, right, while we're not rendering. And then when it's time to render, they get swapped back out for the original files, and you don't even have to worry about it. At least that's how it works in DaVinci Resolve. Now there is one thing before we wrap this up though, this part, is if you are working on color touch-ups, right? You're working on coloring, you're mastering, all this type of stuff. You typically want to disable your proxies before you work with your coloring because you're going to be looking at a low quality version of the file up here in the preview pane. And it's just not going to go well when you go to do the coloring and then you go back to your original file. So it's a good idea to disable your proxies when you're working with the color section. But when you're editing, you're working on an edit. When you're working with your timeline, you just have your proxies on all the time. It's going to be a lot easier on your system, a lot easier on you. And a machine like this, the Book3 Pro 360, will have no problem with working with all the 4K footage you want to throw at it as long as you're working with proxies like this. So hopefully that's helps explain that for you. Great question. Had fun explaining it. All right, our next question comes to us from Little Grimy 5-star. Do you know how to unassign an app shortcut? I want it completely blank. And this is in regards to unassigning app shortcuts from the Samsung Smart Keyboard Trio 500 keyboard. So no, my friend, unfortunately, I have not found a way to unassign app shortcuts. I mean, it's easy enough to assign them. Like here, we'll just open up the Play Store here. Press and hold the app shortcut button for 3 seconds so everyone's on the same page. Gives you a confirmation that it's been assigned. And if we minimize this here and we press this first app shortcut button, it opens up. But I've tried every combination under the sun, having the home screen to where no apps are shown and everything closed out. I've tried pressing and holding the app shortcut buttons for like 30 seconds. Doing different combinations of the function, command, alt, shift while pressing it to try to clear it. No luck, my friend. So I guess the only thing to do is to, just assign it to the next app that you want to use it, or just kind of forget about it until you need it and just assign it then. Otherwise, I don't know of a way to clear it. Sorry I couldn't be of assistance for you. So our next question comes to us from Marshwellow. I'm sorry, that's hilarious. All right, I'm trying to get YouTube to go into flex mode, but it tells me it needs a custom layout. All right, so normally when you're watching a video and you go into flex mode on YouTube, it looks a little bit like this. So you see here, we got these videos on the side and all that. And then once we go into flex mode, puts a video up top, and then you can scroll through the comments like this, right? Kind of cool. I like it a lot. So it's telling you need a custom layout. That means there's something wrong with the resizing of the elements. So here's what I would check for, and I have no idea if this is going to work for you because I've never seen that issue before, like ever. But what I would do is I would go down to settings. Let's head over to display real quick. And what I would mess with here, let me see. I would try altering your screen layout and zoom. Try maybe taking that down one. In addition to that, maybe check out your font size and scale. Maybe you've got it just set off and those two settings together are just throwing things off. I really don't know what else it can be unless you mess with your DPI settings in the developer options. You would know that if you did that because what I just said would resonate with you. And if you did, go ahead and hit me down in the comments and I'll show you how to reset that. But unless you mess with one of those advanced settings, I can only see one of these two things really having an impact on it because these will impact the scaling of the fonts and the UI elements themselves. So hopefully one of these two little settings here will help fix that for you. I've never heard of that before. That's definitely very interesting. Hopefully that helps, and thanks for the question. Okay, our next question comes to us from Juan. Hey, thanks for the video. I just got a Galaxy Book Pro for $500 USD, and I'm having an amazing time when connected to my S22 and Tab S7 Plus. Oh, that's awesome. That's good to hear. A quick question though. I haven't found a way to drag a file from the phone or tablet onto the laptop. Is it possible? I've managed to transfer files dragging them from the laptop onto the phone or tablet, but not the other way around. Hope you can confirm if this is possible or not. Thank you. All right, yeah, so I know what you mean. You know, copying files from the Galaxy Book to your tablet or phone is super simple using Quick Share or Link Share, but oftentimes when you go to copy files from your phone or tablet to the Galaxy Book, you won't see the Galaxy Book as an option when using Quick Share or Link Share. So the solution to that is pretty simple. Let's go ahead and open up Samsung Flow real quick. Let's see here. There's Flow right there. Let me open it up. And I went ahead and unregistered my device and all that, so we're starting from scratch. We're going to go ahead and hit Start. All right, so right off the bat, it's going to recognize devices that are signed into the same Samsung account, that are on the same Wi-Fi network, and that you've already established Bluetooth connectivity with. So you can see here we have the Bluetooth icon and the Wi-Fi icon, because it's already established to this device via those connections. So that's cool. It's already set up, and it should be for yours too, as long as you're already using your phone and your laptop together, you know, with like using your phone or just connect via Bluetooth. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and click on the S23 Ultra, and I'm gonna go ahead and just connect via Bluetooth real quick. It's gonna pop this open. So it has this code on each one of these screens. I'm gonna go ahead and click OK, all right? And it already opened up Samsung Flow on my S23 Ultra. I didn't have to do anything. And then we're gonna click OK down here on the laptop. All right, so it's gonna open up a window like this, basically a send receive window that we can send text and all that kind of stuff. But here's what you're after. You're after doing this. You wanna get a file from your phone over to the laptop. So you wanna hit the plus sign, and that's gonna let you pick from My Files, Images, whatever you want, audio files, anything. It's all right here. Let's go ahead and pick an image real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and pick one. All right, it's gonna go ahead and start the transfer. Boom, there it is right there. And I'll go ahead and click on it. Boom, there's my image right there. It's the same one that I had on my phone. So just use Samsung Flow. It's easy to get your files back and forth. And you can go either way, from your laptop to your phone or tablet and right back and forth. And it'll just sit here and run in the background. So I recommend Samsung Flow for this. Thanks for the question. Right, our next question comes to us from Kenyon, and I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. And this is in regards to using the Galaxy Book Pro 360 with a hotspot. So hey, I just wanted to know if all of these features work with mobile hotspot. I work in an area with no Wi-Fi connectivity. My screen share and quick share doesn't work. I have a Galaxy Book 3 Pro 360 and S21 Ultra. And he also mentions, it says I should be on the same Wi-Fi network. Does it work without that? Is S21 Ultra compatible? It has One UI 5.1, so I'm guessing it should work. All right, so when it comes to using a mobile hotspot and trying to use quick share, link share, and all of the other ecosystem features, unfortunately that's not gonna work. And I can explain to you why. So the reason being is because once you're connected to a mobile hotspot on either one of the devices, whether you're doing it on your phone or the laptop, you're no longer on the same Wi-Fi network. So one of the devices will have connectivity while the other one is using that other device's connection to make the connection, right? To get internet access through the mobile hotspot. So technically, you're not on the same Wi-Fi network, you're sharing a network between two devices. So it's kind of piggybacking off the network. So it's going to be recognized as two different Wi-Fi networks. So one's going to be getting the mobile data, right? Let's say, for example, you're using your Galaxy, I think you mentioned S22. So let's say you're using that and you have the hotspot feature turned on. That means you're using mobile data for your internet connection, for all your internet connectivity, right? While you're out on the go, and you're sharing your connection with the laptop. So you're no longer on the same Wi-Fi network. It's just using the hotspot feature that you turned on your device. In order to start using the same features together, you're going to have them both connected to the same network. All right, our next question comes to us from Shara, and I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. Why does opening air commands with the S Pen by pressing the Pen button takes longer on the Galaxy Book than the S23 Ultra? It feels it is struggling to just open a simple app. Is a phone processor more powerful than a laptop? All right, so why does the air command window take so much longer to load up on the Galaxy Book than the S23 Ultra? First off, I know what you mean, my friend, and let's go ahead and show everyone else what we're talking about here. So what we're talking about is if you hover the pen right over the screen and you press the button, like I just did right there, I'm probably gonna have to do it again. Let's do it again, and this is exactly his point. Come on, you can do it. There it goes, finally. Literally took like 10 seconds to load that menu up right here. In comparison to this, let's grab the S Pen from the S23 Ultra. Now watch this. This is kind of ridiculous. It's not even a comparison. So let's go ahead and just minimize that here real quick, right? We'll go ahead and hover above this, right above the screen, push a button, instant. Let's do that again. I'm hovering above the screen, push a button, instant. And I mean instant. And I have no idea why it is, but I have some guesses. I have some assumptions. And I think what it is that the Windows PC, this operating system, just does a real poor job of being in tune with this pen action. You know, like it's not tightly coupled with the operating system like it is over here with One UI on our S23 and all the other devices. It's always this way. So all the phones are fast, the tablet's fast. It's only the Galaxy Books running on the Windows OS that takes a long time for that to load. I don't think it has anything to do with processing power. I think it has everything to do with implementation. So I don't know why that is, but it's not a fluke with your system, my friend. It's like that for everyone. It really does suck. I don't even bother using the air command window on here. Like for Samsung Notes, just put a Samsung Notes icon on your desktop. It'll be way quicker than waiting for that stupid menu to pull up. All right, and our last question for this week comes into us from Gerald. Hey, I love your vids. May I know if there's a limit to the Samsung Notes I store in Samsung Cloud? Well, Gerald, I know we talked about this in the comments section, and I let you know that I thought there wasn't a limit, but I'm wrong. I was wrong, and I really do apologize about that. I did a little bit more research for you, and I found out that Samsung Notes is tied to your Samsung Cloud account. It gets stored with like your calendar, your contacts, your messages, all that type of stuff, and you have 15 gigabytes of free storage. So your notes are included with that storage. In addition to that, I also found out that you do have a 1 gigabyte per note storage limit. So what that means is for all of your notes that you are syncing via Samsung Notes, you can't have any one note that's above 1 gigabyte or else that note will fail to sync. All right, so that wraps up this week's Q&A. Again, if you have any questions that you would like answered in an upcoming Q&A video, go ahead and drop them down in the comments section below. I really do appreciate your time, and as always, thanks for watching.